So I'm going to give you the 5 best muscle building tips for anyone that is 40 and older. So I'm personally, well, I shouldn't consider myself middle aged, but I basically am middle aged. And if you want to build muscle and you want to look good when you get in your 40s, you're going to have to do some slight variations. And you can't just eat what you want and do all the things that you could, 10 years or even 20 years prior to getting in your 40s. You're going to hold fat a little bit more, and it's going to stay on a little bit longer unless you do the right things. So the first tip I have is to really look at your diet. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to calculate every calorie, but you should have an idea of what you're eating. And you should look at, I think it's calorie.net. You can type in, calorie weight loss and put in about how many minutes of cardio you do, per week. And it'll give you a pretty good estimation of how many calories you should eat in the range if you want to lose a pound a week or 2 pounds a week. The second thing you should do is you need to also eat foods that aren't fried, fatty. I know this sounds like common sense, but a calorie in and a calorie out is not the same for every single food. So if you're eating donuts, those are empty calories. You're not getting the magnesium, you're not getting the zinc, you're not getting the potassium, you're not getting the things your body needs. So you really want to limit those foods or reward yourself maybe a couple times a month, a few days out of that month if you want to have something like that. So you don't have to give up everything. The third thing I want to mention is you really need to look at the type of water you're drinking. If you're drinking tap water, that's usually not the healthiest water with the chlorine and all the added stuff that's in those particular waters and the things that are used to clean it. I personally like spring water. You could do distilled water, reverse osmosis water made at home by you, and then adding minerals back with Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt, something like that. Those are the ones that I would use and drink on a regular basis. And the fourth thing I want to mention is you want to look at an overall balance. So a lot of people today, they think they just want to go either, 100% vegan, they want to go 100% meat eater, and overall longevity, you need to have a balance. I wouldn't be so high on one and so low on the other. And when it comes to certain foods, like plant-based foods, with certain types of vegetables and fruits, those can be very beneficial, yes. Um, Personally, I would avoid the legumes, the beans, the wheat, things like that. That's just my take on it. I don't have celiac disease, but foods that have a lot of gluten can help you, unfortunately, gain more weight than you really need. Now, the fifth thing I want to mention, and this is something that a lot of people really don't look at, that's maintaining your natural testosterone and human growth hormone levels. Yes, those can be done naturally. Yes, they will slightly dip once you get 30 years old, and every year after that, it's a small amount. But if you've had a terrible diet and you haven't worked out, then yeah, your numbers can be significantly lower than where they should be. So my testosterone 2 years ago was about 742, I believe, and that was at noon. You want to do it around 8 a.m. So my levels would be much higher than that, and that was fasted as well. Haven't had it done for about 2 years. I don't think it's any lower, but I think that's a pretty good number when you get into your 40s naturally. So, personally, I have never taken anything, and I don't look down upon anyone that does. But I would try to do everything as natural as possible. It's just going to make everything much easier. And if you're working out, doing the right exercises, such as, some deadlifts, squats especially, legs are huge for building testosterone. And, you're not eating all day, every day, and you're coordinating your meals properly, you're going to have higher testosterone levels than someone that sits at home and does nothing and doesn't really eat right. You're going to have substantially higher numbers. And I give you an example. I have a friend of mine. He's a year older than me. His number is in the 400s, and he just got that done recently. But his diet is much higher in alcohol. I wouldn't say he's necessarily really overweight. It's his fat distribution doesn't have a lot of side fat, and he's kind of fortunate on that. But he definitely doesn't look bad, but he could be better, and that's why his numbers and his testosterone are reflecting that. Poor dietary choices, not drinking too much alcohol, and not putting in that effort. He does work out and works out hard, so he's got that down. Otherwise, his numbers would be even lower. So if you kind of keep that balance and you use some of these tips I'm giving you, your numbers should definitely increase. I'm not saying they're going to double and you're going to go from 400 to 700, but it definitely can make a difference. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.